Hello, and welcome to this video on how to deal with breakup pain. Now, I'm really sorry that you're going through this pain. I understand that it can be really painful and uncomfortable, anxiety producing. There can be a lot of guilt, regret, remorse, a lot of thinking about the past, and a lot of projecting onto the future. Which takes us to one of the most meaningful or important or potentially helpful things we can talk about in regards to breakup pain, and that is your process of projection. And what I mean by projection is your process of imagining things and applying it to the past and to the future and to reality. So for example, when we have gone through a breakup, we might project that our life will never be the same, that we lost the love of our lives, that we'll never find anyone else like them, that we aren't good enough or weren't good enough, that they have rejected us, that they have judged us and the things that we feel insecure about, and deemed those parts of ourselves as not being good enough. Other projections are that we'll never find another relationship or another person as good or as kind or as successful. Another projection, if you have children, can be that you have hurt your children in some way. Anyways, I don't want to give too many of these because it just can cause the mind to start to become overly active, projecting these fears onto reality. And that really is the core of breakup pain. It's fear that we feel in regards to ourselves, our past, and our future. And this fear is not real. It is projected, meaning in our mind's eye, we look at ourselves and what has happened through the lens of our fear, or through those, and we make those projections, and we imagine that all these terrible things have happened and that we've lost something that can never be regained, and that the future will never be as good as the past. And it looks real to us in that moment of loss. And it feels real to us because our emotional systems will react to the things that we project onto our lives. The subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what we imagine and what is real. And so when we imagine that our life is ruined, that we'll never find love again, well, the subconscious mind sends that information to the body as if it's real, and so then we feel as if we'll never find love again. And then when we're thinking it and we're feeling it, then it really feels real, which creates a cycle of worry, of stress, of fear, of revalidating the fear that is causing our pain. And this fear not only causes our pain, it limits us profoundly and significantly. Because if we feel like we'll never find love again, then what are we going to project onto potential partners? Are we going to project that they're a potential partner, or are we going to project that they're not good enough in some way, or that we won't love them, that they won't be as good as our previous partner? And so the things that we project have a tendency to influence our emotions, of course, our attitudes, and then our behaviors and our interpretations of future people and things and experiences. And so our projections have this sort of tendency to influence the reality that we experience personally. And so it's important to be very wise about what you project onto reality. Is it really true that you can't ever find love again? Is it really true that you'll never find someone as good as them for you? And it might feel like it is. That said, I encourage you to accept the possibility that those feelings aren't true. Because if you stay within those feelings, they will limit you and they will decide your emotional process on your behalf. And ultimately, these negative emotions, the pain that you're feeling, the breakup pain, are a subconscious or unconscious process, not a conscious one, not a consciously chosen one. It is a reactive process, not a consciously chosen responsive process. It's not responding to a change in life, it's reacting to it. And understanding how these reactions work and where they come from can be really helpful in terms of giving you the necessary energy, helping you find the necessary energy to release your attachment to those emotions and that emotional reaction. So we'll talk about that now. These negative emotions, these projections that we make after a change in our lives like this, after a breakup, they are a self-defense mechanism. They are an attempt to essentially protect ourselves from pain and from that which we fear. So for example, when we say, "I'll never find love again," why are we really saying that? Well, it depends on the person, and I'll give you some examples. It will be unique to you. This might not be a direct example of your situation. That said, you can apply the same understanding to evaluate what it is that's driving your assumptions and projections. So for example, when we get into a breakup and then we feel a lot of pain because we feel like we'll never find love again. Why would someone assume that? One reason could be that they're trying to defend themselves, protect themselves from getting hurt again. So subconsciously they're trying to defend themselves or protect themselves from getting hurt again. The belief that they'll never find love again would essentially prevent them from getting into another relationship and would therefore prevent them from getting hurt again. Do you see how these self-defense strategies, self-protective strategies, which are often subconscious, are dysfunctional. If someone goes through a breakup, is it really in their highest and best good not to get up and try again? And maybe they find a relationship that's even better than their last one. I would suggest that that is very possible for you, no matter who you are, especially if you're listening to this video and applying these understandings. You're wanting to evolve, and so you're learning, and that learning will lead to a better relationship. Another example of a self-defense strategy, a subconscious one, is after a breakup, again, we might feel like we'll never find love again. And we could feel that way if we have a strategy that basically says that I need to remain available in case I can get back together with my partner. That could lead to the assumption that I'll never find love again. The issue with subconscious strategies is that we don't see the strategy beneath the surface unless we look for it. All we feel is, I'll never find love again. And we don't know why. Another reason why we could come to such assumptions or projections is if, for example, it's something that is a family pattern. If mom or grandma or dad or grandpa went through a breakup and came to the conclusion that they'll never find love again. And then because they came to that belief, it ended up influencing their life, and they repeated that maybe while you were growing up. You see the subconscious motivators of the assumptions that and beliefs that we make, which we then feel are unchangeable. The beliefs that we assume to be true, which aren't. And these beliefs, because we carry them, have a tendency to revalidate themselves. Again, back to the original example, if we assume that we'll never find love again, and we're projecting that onto reality, then are we really going out and mingling? Are we saying, yeah, I'll go on this date? Or are we sending the energy out to the world that says, hey, I'm available? Or are we saying, no, it's not worth it? So then we don't find love, and we're like, see, I knew it. I'll never find love again. I was right. Again, that's how beliefs create reality. That's how projections create reality. And we would say, in this video, we're using assumptions, projections, and beliefs, and even imagination as synonyms. And you could even throw the word fear in there as a synonym, because we could fear that we'll never find love again. And that fear can become a belief and a projection, and something we imagine to be true, and something we assume to be true, all of which will influence our decisions, our emotions, our interpretations, creating a cycle until we see the cycle and we transcend it, which is what I'm hoping to help with in this video. Hopefully you haven't even entered the cycle yet. What are some other reactions? They were the one. They got away. That's a common one. Why would someone come to assume or believe that? Someone assuming that they were the one and they got away is someone who might not be ready to move on yet. They're still stuck in the past and on that partner as being the one. And they are subscribing to the belief that there is only one. Such a person might feel like they don't deserve to find another. They might feel guilty, like the reason the relationship ended was their fault. And in such a situation, they might feel as if moving on is not okay. And they might be so afraid to move on, so attached to what they perceived they had, that they're unwilling to consider the possibility that there is another partner out there for them that could be an even better fit for them. Again, this belief and assumption and projection and fear is really important to become self-aware of, because it will guide one's behavior and interpretations and results in life as a result. If we believe they were the one, we go to a gathering with people, are we gonna, and someone wonderful comes up to introduce themselves to us, are we going to say, hey, yeah, let's go on a date if they ask us on a date? Or are we going to ask them to go on a date if we think the one got away? Even if we do go on a date, are we going to be able to enjoy that relationship if we feel like the one got away? In such situations, it's so important to release the fear of missed opportunity, of loss of that opportunity, of having lost the one, and to embrace the possibility and accept the possibility and even the truth that there are many wonderful potential partners for you. To step out of lack, to become self-aware of the lack, the perspective of lack, and to start resonating with abundance. And to release any and all guilt that you have, any feelings of having been wrong in the relationship, of not being fit for a relationship. Which can be another conclusion after a breakup, that I'm just not relationship material. That something's wrong with me. And this self-judgment can seem like a useful, again, another useful self-defense strategy, because if something's wrong with you, then is there a reason for you to get into is it okay for you to get into another relationship? Probably not. If something's wrong with you, then you're not going to, if you're believing that, then you're not going to get into another relationship. Therefore, you'd be protecting yourself again from the illusion of rejection and abandonment that you interpreted to be real as a result of your breakup. Lots of people after a breakup, they feel abandoned and rejected. And they feel like something was wrong with them. And that's really not the case. Just because a relationship comes to an end, it never means that something is wrong with someone. Everyone is who they are. Everyone is constantly changing. And nobody is wrong at the core of their being. At the core of our beings, we're all equal children of Spirit and of God. We're all at the core good at our core. Sure, people have different fears and act from ignorance, and some people are brainwashed and I mean, I'm talking about people who commit crimes that are, and these people have often grown up in very, very difficult environments, very difficult childhoods, very traumatic childhoods. And if you were to remove the trauma in their childhood, if you were to remove those terrible events, they likely wouldn't commit the crimes they commit. And so there is that pure soul, that pure being, that pure inner child within all of us. So life is a process of it can be, if you choose it to be, of connecting to that pureness within. And relationships are a vehicle for that personal growth and evolution, and spiritual growth and evolution. And so if you avoid relationships, you're missing out on the capacity to evolve through relationships. Because, well, I've heard this metaphor before from a spiritual teacher, John Jones, said that relationships are like a rock tumbler. And we're each like a rock in this rock tumbler. And when we get in this rock tumbler, we're sharp and jagged and full of edges, and we're rough. And then through relationships and learning and evolution through our relationships, as this rock tumbler spins and spins and all the rocks crash into each other and they begin to soften each other and grind each other down until we all come out as a beautiful, round, smooth, and polished rock. A beautiful rock, a beautiful stone. And so, if you assume something's wrong with you because the relationship came to an end, well, that's not an accurate assumption. Yes, maybe the relationship has come to an end, at least for now. It might pick back up later in your life, maybe next week, or maybe in another lifetime. That said, that doesn't mean that if the relationship has temporarily paused, at least the romantic elements, that something's wrong with you. It could be that you two are just simply not an optimal fit at this time, at least not for a stable relationship. Or it could be that you two are still working through some things and maybe in a relationship again in the near or long-term future. Or it could be that there's a more optimal relationship for you out there and for them. Or it could be that maybe they are not that willing to be vulnerable or humble or self-aware or accountable in their lives. Maybe you are more willing to be vulnerable, introspective, self-aware, accountable, forgiving, understanding. Or maybe they were and you weren't until now. And really, that's okay. Everything is okay. And there are always communications that you can make. There are things that you can say if you hit the nail on the head, so to speak, if you address in a very vulnerable fashion, not in a controlling or manipulative fashion, a very vulnerable fashion. There are things you can say that can unlock new opportunities in the relationship. So many relationships come to an end unnecessarily because people in relationships don't always have the capacity to understand the pain and the fear that their partner is in or was in. And because they don't understand it, they're not able to speak to it. And when they can't speak to it and address it, then their partner continues to feel misunderstood and like the relationship is not a good fit. Alone, unsupported. And certain communications can address that. And learning gaining the capacity to see our partner's perspective clearly, to understand their pain, to understand the way they feel, without pride, without ego, without trying to defend ourselves or protect ourselves, doing it vulnerably, fearlessly, and self-accountably. That can make a big difference. Now that might require a process of introspection, some meditation, some journaling. And that might be uncomfortable because just doing that introspection can bring up some pain from the past and some fear of being rejected again. And ultimately, all of these fears are just projections, just imagined. And they feel painful because, like we said earlier in this video, our body feels what we think, because our subconscious mind does not know the difference between what we imagine and what is really happening. And so it sends those signals to the body, and the body reacts and therefore feels as if what we think is really happening, or as if what we project or imagine or fear or believe. So if while you're going through that process of introspection, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to get abandoned, I'm going to get rejected, I'm going to get hurt, well, then that's what you're going to be feeling during that process. I'm going to be alone. And so we would recommend that in any relationship situation where you're attempting to be vulnerable, to introspect, that you consciously manage your process of projection and fear, and optimally be so focused that the only thing you focus on is bridging the gap of misunderstanding. Anyways, I've digressed into talking about conflict resolution just because some of you out there, this might be applicable to you. There might still be an opportunity to resolve your relationship issues that you experience, the breakup. A breakup is not final. Even if it's a divorce, it's just a signature. It's just ink on a paper in a drawer. In this case, it might be even less tangible. These days, it might just be a number in a database. And so none of that is final. Plenty of people have gotten back together after a divorce or breakup. That said, it's also useful to consciously evaluate whether this is actually a good thing. I would suggest that no matter what, in a way, what has happened is good. That everything that happens in the world is part of the process of our spiritual development and offers us learning to a degree. And that this breakup could be an excellent thing for you, that you could learn so much from it, that you could, and you could learn to not fear as much, or start to release your fear of abandonment and rejection, and therefore in the next relationship you could be so much more present and loving and selfless and unconditionally loving. And that's something, because that would lead to a much more intimate experience of relationship. Maybe a much more meaningful and fulfilling one. So every experience that we have, it helps us grow. And even if you do end up back together with your partner, this experience of having broken up could be something that makes you so much stronger. You in that old relationship, or you in a new future relationship. And accepting that possibility as truth allows that possibility to manifest. If we reject it, if we stay in limiting beliefs and limiting fears, then it's very challenging. Because those limiting fears and beliefs define our experience of reality. That's it. If we can begin to surrender to a greater truth, a greater perspective, a greater understanding, then that understanding, that truth, that possibility, it can unfold and take root and take place and manifest in our lives. And so we've given you a lot of intellectual understandings of what the breakup pain is and how it works. And now I'd like to offer you some techniques, or at least one technique, that you can use for managing the emotional pain and releasing it, actually. Not just managing it, that's it, processing it out of your system. And the technique we'll share with you is a technique where you repeat the statement that says basically, I am my belief, or I am my fear, or I am my projection. And there's a book called World Without Fear by John Jones, which explains this technique in detail. I'll link to it in the description. And the process, the way it works is you begin to fully acknowledge that the things that you are believing, projecting, and feeling and fearing and imagining about reality, that is all not reality, not true, just your own projection. That it's just you. It's like you're writing this terrible script about what has happened and what's going to happen in your life as a result. And you're believing that that's real and that's reality, when really it's just you. And for example, your soul might be looking down at you in the situation and saying, "Oh, you silly, just get back up. You're about to meet the love of your life." Or maybe the love of your life and their soul is waiting for you, saying, "Come on, get over that breakup so I can come into your life." I mean, these things, there's a very good possibility that that's the way this world works. Some of you skeptics out there, I don't even really want to address. That said, I will, because being skeptical is understandable if you're doing it with the intention to also be, to learn. If you're just being skeptical to be skeptical, well, what's the value in that? That's being stuck. Anyways, look, we're on a rock in the middle of nowhere, in giant space. And you're telling me that it's impossible that there are souls? That people have souls? I mean, the smartest, I've spoken to very smart people and that have gotten PhDs, and I've spoken to scientists, and I still have not found a scientist that is more intelligent, in my perspective, than some of the very attained spiritual teachers that I've met. Sure, they use fancy words, and that said, that what is that if not just knowledge and memory and categories? When you hear someone speak, a very intelligent, and intelligent needs to be defined here, a very wise person speak, for example, you can notice consistencies in their language, in the things that they say, just insights that are profound, that affect your being. And I have not found that level of intelligence and understanding, what we might call nearing like a sort of divine intelligence, wisdom, spiritual truth with a capital T. I have not found that an equal to that in the scientific community. Some get close. I've met some scientists that get close. Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Greg Braden, they get close. That said, some of the spiritual teachers like Ramahana Maharshi, some statements from the Buddha, statements that I've heard from John Jones, who wrote that book that I'll link to in the description, that have been so profound in my perspective. So that's it. But back to the I am my fear process. The I am my fear process is a process that will allow you to fully get in touch with the truth that your perspective about life being ruined, or never finding love again, or that it's your fault, or that you were wrong, or that you were bad, that's not true. That's just a perspective that you're carrying, a recording that you're repeating over and over again. And if you were to take a very happy person and have them go spend an hour a day in front of the mirror, or just throughout the day to every hour repeat 10 times to themselves, "I'm a bad person," or "I'm never going to find love again," or "I'll never have a good relationship," do you think that person would be feeling good, or do you think they'd be experiencing some pain? And if that doesn't need to be true for it to cause the pain. But when it starts to cause the pain, we start to feel it. And when we start to feel it, we start to assume that it's true because it revalidates the thoughts in our head. And so we get lost in that sort of rabbit hole. We need not. We can step out of the rabbit hole by using this process. And the way the process works is, if you go into a sort of meditative state, you relax and you focus on the pain that you feel, and you start to repeat, I am my fear, and whatever it is for you, you add to the end of that statement. And you can say, I am my belief, or I am my feeling. So for example, if you feel like you'll never find a relationship again, you say, I am my fear that I'll never find a relationship again. And you go into meditation while doing this, I am my fear that I'll never find a relationship again. I am my fear that I'll never find a relationship again. And as you do that, you allow yourself to feel the fear, the feeling, the negative feeling, the pain. You allow yourself to feel it. You face it. This is the Band-Aid off quick approach. So that instead of having this pain for years and letting it influence your life and therefore you being lonely for years, you face it. You recognize, hey, I'm carrying this pain. I've internalized this pain. Now I'm going to release it. And so as you do this, you allow yourself to feel the pain, knowing that the pain isn't real. Because, hey, wherever you're doing this, you're probably in the comfort of your home. You're in a nice room. So there's nothing to really feel pain about. And so as you repeat the statement, I am my fear, that, for example, here's another example, I am my fear that it's all my fault. As you repeat that, I am my fear that it's all my fault and I'm a terrible partner, for example. I am my fear that it was all my fault and I'm a terrible partner. As you repeat that statement, you allow yourself to feel the pain of that in your system. You continue repeating the statement. And what this repeating the statement will do is, it'll help you get in touch with the suppressed emotions, and it'll help you process it out by recognizing that it's only you. It's just your projection onto reality. It's not reality, it's just your projection onto reality. If you were to put on a pair of glasses with green lenses, if you were to take glasses with green lenses, put them on your face and look at the world, you wouldn't say, oh my gosh, the whole world is green. What's going on? No, because you would know that, hey, I just put on a green pair of glasses. Well, in the same way, once you recognize that your projections onto reality make the world look like that, when you realize that, hey, the reason the world looks like this is just because I'm wearing these projections or these glasses, this perspective on life, this perspective that it was all my fault. Then, once you realize that really is you and not truth, not reality, not the world, you can take those glasses off and you can be free. And if you want more information, do check out the book that I'll link to in the description. Very profound book. And if you would like help in your relationship in any way, do feel free to contact me for some coaching. I would love to help you in any way that I can. Some last comments would be that everything is okay. I know that you are a wonderful being. Whatever you feel that you have done wrong or bad, or in any way that you feel that you're not good enough, it's not true. You have great value. You are a child of God. As long as you carry those beliefs and those fears, they will create a sort of artificial reality or individual reality or personality that revalidates those fears and beliefs. And so I hope that you, in a way, I hope that you decide to use this practice that I've provided in order to not go down that path. That said, sometimes going down that path for a while is necessary. And so then sometimes it's in our highest and best good, because if we go down that path for a year or two or three, then we really learn how disempowering using fear to navigate life, or limiting beliefs to navigate life, or dysfunctional self-defense strategies to navigate life. We learn how dysfunctional that can be. And that is a valuable thing. And just like you can't really teach someone not to put their hand on the stove, sometimes we need to burn our hand to learn. And ultimately, from the vantage point of the arc of evolution of your soul, everything is okay. And if you can get in touch with that, with your soul, that's wonderful, because again, I promise you that your soul is not looking down at you saying, yeah, agreeing with you, saying the world is over. Your soul's not saying that. Your soul is saying, hey, everything's okay. When you're ready to, let's pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, let's learn, let's keep going, and let's keep loving. And I wish you that, a lot of love in your life. I hope that this video has been helpful, and I hope you have a great day.